The world is full of people with different characters and temperaments. We all have a dark side, a tendency to manipulate, and aggressive desires. The most dangerous types are those who repress their desires or deny the existence of them, often acting them out in the most underhanded ways. Be extra careful in the work environment with those who like to maintain their position through charm and being political, rather than getting things done. They are very prone to envying and hating those who work hard and get results. They will slander and sabotage you without any warning. Create a ladder of values and priorities in your life, reminding yourself of what really matters to you. When you are trying to impress people with words, the more you say, the more common you appear, and the less in control. Even if you are saying something banal, it will seem original if you make it vague, open-ended, and sphinx-like. We do not see people as they are, but as they appear to us. And these appearances are usually misleading. Reputation is the cornerstone of power. Through reputation alone you can intimidate and win. Once it slips, however, you are vulnerable, and will be attacked on all sides. Make your reputation unassailable. Stupidity and human incompetence are the great evils, not ambition and glory. Always remember that your calmness under fire is your best defense in any argument or discussion. A person who is truly authentic doesn't need to play a role in life, we think, but can simply be him, or herself. Power is the measure of the degree of control you have over circumstances in your life and the actions of the people around you. It is a skill that is developed by a deep understanding of human nature, of what truly motivates people, and of the manipulations necessary for advancement and protection. A hustler has to deal with danger and risk. It's part of the game. You cannot control it all, nor would you want to. Chaos, unknown factors are not something to be anxious about. Remind yourself that winning an argument or proving your point really gets you nowhere in the long run. Win through your actions, not your words. If you change and adapt your persona, you are seen as inauthentic. If you stay the angry young man, you fade from attention or seem tiresome. Weak character will neutralize all of the other possible good qualities a person might possess. In the world today, many people rightfully feel entitled to have success and the good things in life, but they usually understand it will require sacrifice and hard work. People expect your behavior to conform to known patterns and conventions. Your task as a strategist is to upset their expectations. Your life must be a progression towards ownership, first mentally of your independence, and then physically of your work, owning what you produce. The wisest hustler can suddenly fall for the worst tramp and lose all of his money on her. The hustler is aware of his own weaknesses and openings to con. This awareness is his edge. The passive-aggressive arguer comes armed with tricky tactics. They cannot take the risk that they might be wrong. Their self-esteem is too intertwined with their opinions. It is more important to affirm their rightness, and sense of superiority, than to arrive at the truth. Waste brings woe, and sorrow hates despair. Emotions are continually affecting our thought processes and decisions, below the level of our awareness. And the most common emotion of them all is the desire for pleasure and the avoidance of pain. Ambition has become a dirty word, and I believe it is a great evolutionary force for the positive. If people fail or go astray in their ambition, I can live with it, but not with people lowering their expectations, wasting time, slacking off and glorifying failure and stupidity. Consciously or unconsciously, most of us adhere to what is expected of our role because we realize our social success depends on this. Some may refuse to play this game, but in the end they are marginalized and forced to play the outsider role, with limited options and decreasing freedom as they get older. Understand, as children and young adults, we are taught to conform to certain codes of behavior and ways of doing things. We learn that being different comes with a social price. Why regret anything? Where does it get you to regret anything you've ever done in your life? It gets you nowhere. It's a pathetic emotion that you can wallow in. Smooth functioning of social life has always depended on the recognition of certain basic limits to behavior. We cannot simply say or do anything we wish, or offend people, without paying consequences, isolation, ostracism, etc. To not follow your passion in life is a recipe for failure and unhappiness. On a career level, I always advise people to look ahead and be open to changes in direction. That job that seems so good now can easily turn into a nightmare if you do not see the possible corners it can land you in. I've done a lot of research in Hollywood and in academia. I love research, and so I wanted to kind of ground the book in history, in things that I read that were universal and timeless, and then kind of let my own experiences sort of filter through all of this history. Compared to other animals, we humans enter the world remarkably weak and helpless. We remain relatively weak for many years before we can truly operate on our own. To hold an idea and convince ourselves we arrived at it rationally, we go in search of evidence to support our view. The great thing about America is that you can come from the worst circumstances and become something remarkable. Power is a complicated word and can take many forms.
What happens if you stick at something long enough, and study it for so long, you have a different kind of intelligence? It's not an intellectual thing. It's almost like an animal intelligence. I call it our form of instinct, almost how a lion knows exactly where its prey is. Often people become our friend or follower with an undercurrent of resentment in our having more success than they have. They secretly desire the opportunity to take us down a notch. They have a nose for any misstep on our part they can exploit. We humans are self-absorbed by nature, and spend most of our time focusing inwardly on our emotions, on our wounds, on our fantasies. In the world today, we humans have become more self-absorbed, more tribal and tenacious in holding on to our narrow agendas. We have become consumed by the barrage of information inundating us. We are even more fickle when it comes to leaders. Power works best when it is indirect, never coercing people, instead, getting them to voluntarily align with your interests. For as one star another far exceeds, so souls in heaven are placed by their deeds. While still working for others, your goal at some point must be to carve out little areas that you can operate on your own, cultivating entrepreneurial skills.
Passive aggressors who are adept at this will have trained themselves to remain calm, while you get irritated and emotional.
If a subject excites us, if it stirs our deepest curiosity, or if we have to learn because the stakes are high, we pay much more attention. What we absorb sinks in. With colleagues in the work environment, we fail to see the source of their envy or the reason for their manipulations. Our attempts at influencing them are based on the assumptions that they want the same things as ourselves. A child wants things to be a certain way. When you get to be an adult, you just understand that some people are good, some are not, and you can't be naive. If a person is successful, we imagine they are probably also ethical, conscientious, and deserving of their good fortune. This obscures the fact that many people who get ahead have done so by doing less than moral actions, which they cleverly disguise from view. People have more freedom to bring more of their personal qualities into the role they play once they have established themselves and their competence is no longer in question. But this is always within limits. Keep people off balance and in the dark by never revealing the purpose behind your actions. If they have no clue what you are up to, they cannot prepare a defense. Remember, your bosses prefer to keep you in dependent positions. It is in their interest that you do not become self-reliant, and so they will tend to hoard information. You must secretly work against this and seize this information for yourself. Let me spell it out. With the psychotic boss, nothing you do is ever quite right. They set traps, asking you to do things, and no matter how hard you think of accomplishing it in their way, it is wrong and you are to blame. This tends to instill a lot of fear in you. Remember that the essence of authority is that people willingly follow your lead. I know my God commands, whose power no power resists. If you want to be a good strategist, you can never just go off a principle you read in a book. You need to adapt what you do to the situation. No rule of thumb is true all the time. We are often attracted to the wrong things, whether it be money, fame, or approval. Ethics and power are separate. I had noticed that many of these successful people, historical and contemporary, shared certain common traits. They had a way of thinking that was exceptionally fluid. They could adapt to almost any circumstance. When confronted with problems, they could look at them from novel perspectives and solve them. If you're in business or politics, you need to have an intense understanding of what's going on around you. Most of us enter adult life with great ambitions for how we will start our own ventures, but the harshness of life wears us down. We settle into some job and slowly give in to the illusion that our bosses care about us and our future, that they spend time thinking of our welfare. The things that transfixed you as a child, that you found most exciting, was not a passing fancy, but a message about what you're supposed to do. Once people are aware of your presence, and perhaps vaguely intrigued, you need to stir their interest before it settles on someone else. Few are drawn to the person whom others avoid and neglect. People gather around those who have already attracted interest. Always make those above you feel comfortably superior. In your desire to please or impress them, do not go too far in displaying your talents, or you might accomplish the opposite, inspire fear and insecurity. The authority you establish must emerge naturally from your character, from the particular strengths you possess. Understand, any phenomenon in the world is by nature complex. The people you deal with are equally complex. Any action sets off a limitless chain of reactions. It is never so simple as A leads to B, a B will lead to C, D, and beyond. Your energy, your spirit are important considerations. Feeling petty and frustrated can have reverberating consequences for your ability to think strategically and reach your goals. As social animals, we humans are very sensitive to our rank and position within any group. We can measure our status by the attention and respect we receive. In any court-like environment of power, you will inevitably find people who are drawn to those who are successful or powerful, not out of admiration, but out of secret envy. Humans cannot avoid trying to influence others. Everything we say or do is examined and interpreted by others for clues as to our intentions. Transforming yourself into a deep listener will not only prove more amusing as you open your mind to their mind, but you will gain the most invaluable lessons about human psychology. As social animals, we are extremely susceptible to the moods of other people. This gives us the power to subtly infuse into people the appropriate mood for influencing them. Female psychotic bosses can be particularly devilish. They will tend to mix in a lot of passive aggression, making you feel guilty for all kinds of things.